Hey guys, welcome back to the Dream Lab. This time we have a dream from Felicia. Why don't you come on up and share your dream?
Okay, so I had a dream just a couple of days ago. And so I do want to say at first that the dream was really very colorful,
Okay.
Really good feeling. So I had a dream that I was in this gorgeous house. It was beautiful. It was like on the upper side of, I would say a hill, but it was just like on the upper side of wherever.
Okay.
And I had this beautiful aqua green vase, and I dropped it, and it was glass, and it shattered in pieces to where it even cut me. And it cut me in, I think on my left arm, it cut me kind of deep, and my leg, right around here, it cut me. And there was just little pieces all over, and there was a man in my life who seemed to be maybe my husband. I don't know. That's what it felt like in my dream. And he bandaged me up, pulled off the pieces, and nothing ever hurt. It didn't feel bad. It was just, we took care of it. My daughter was preparing a baby shower for her friend Morgan, and at the house. And so everyone was there. It was a great feeling. And one of the girls had somewhat of an issue with me, and I addressed it with her in a very good way. I was like, okay, do you have an issue with me? Or, let's talk about this. We resolved that. That ended. And then at the end, I remember going outside. It was a very beautiful day. There was, apparently I had people that worked for me that were servants, not servants, but like people that helped, do things around the house or whatever. And they had planted beautiful flowers right around fall time. Those flowers that are all really colorful that they plant right before harvest and fall. And they had just did them all around the house in this walkway. And I remember at the end of the dream, there was a road that went up to my house where there was boundaries that were drawn. And that was it.
Okay. So let's see if we can remember this dream. So you're in this beautiful, very nice big house, and it's kind of up on a hill, nice place, nice location, nice house. And you have this beautiful blue-green, like a turquoise vase that you drop and it shatters. And when it breaks, it cuts you. One on the left arm, one on the leg. And it's lots of different places, but it doesn't hurt. It just, there's a cut. And this guy that's there, that's like your husband in the dream, he comes and he takes the pieces out, bandages you all up, and gets everything fixed. And then there's a lot of people there for your daughter's party, including some of her friends. And one of them, named Morgan, specifically had some kind of an issue with you. And so you just say, hey, what's going on? Like, is there something going on? How can we deal with this? Everything gets resolved. Everything's great. And then you're looking at the outside of the property, and you can see how the people that are there working on the property for you, like they've planted these beautiful flowers, like the beautiful colorful ones that would go out like before harvest in the fall time. Beautiful flowers, and then you're seeing as the property goes up, and on the edge of the property there's a road, and there's clear boundary lines to where your property ends at that point. Yes. And that's the end of the dream.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay. Well, that's a fun dream. So one of the things that's really helpful when you're going through a dream, when you're hearing a dream, when somebody's sharing it with you, you can do it right now. If you didn't do it already, you get the choice. You can actually just rewind and re-listen to the dream. But try to enter into the dream as the dreamer's sharing it. Try to picture what it would be like to dream that dream. So as the dreamer's sharing, it's almost like you enter into the dream with the dreamer. And you're asking Holy Spirit to breathe life on that. Because if you can capture that sense and that feeling of God's presence that's in the dream. It makes it a lot easier to interpret. So go ahead, pause your video, come up with the title of this dream. What are your focus? What's your sub-focuses? What are your details? Come up with an interpretation, and once you're done, start the video again, and we'll let you know what we got here at the lab. All right, welcome back to the lab. Let's work through this one. We're going to start out with a title. What did you guys give it for a title?
From the inside out.
From the inside out. Okay. All right, from the inside out. Who or what is our focus? Dreamer. The dreamer. And what's our first sub-focus? What's the big one?
House.
The house. All right, so what are some of the keys about the house?
It's big and big.
Yeah. So we've got big, nice, and then we've got a vase. Okay, that's a detail. And anything important about the vase? It's blue, green. Okay. Oops. And I need to get back. Okay. That's a detail. Somebody said that it broke.
Danger.
And I'm putting a line towards the dreamer to remember that she got cut by it being broken. What else? The man could be sub-focus or detail. Kind of can't leave it out. But what would be the right way of, what does he do for her? He binds the wounds and cleans it up. Okay. Now, what's the next kind of scene? Yeah, the baby shower. Okay. And then what's important about this?
Yeah.
Morgan and
Daughter.
how about
Communication, right?
put conflict?
Yeah.
There's a detail. That is a C, not an E. I know I got a little extra line in there, but. And what's the next piece? Yeah. So outside, and this will help us remember that it's the house. So we've got flowers. Now, did you actually see the people working, or you just knew that they'd done it
I had seen them like
in passing?
in passing that they had.
But it was more the attention was on what they'd done.
It was like they were working for me.
Yeah.
And they had done it.
Yep. Okay. So the key is really about the flowers that they've done the work. And what's the other piece?
The boundary.
Okay. Now, if you notice, we kind of separated this out into the three major scenes because those are kind of like three paragraphs that are tied, or three sentences in a paragraph. Each of those have their kind of own little thought, their meaning and then you move on to the next one. And so I tried to keep the diagram where it was easy to tell scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, so that it helps you to keep it separated. Because what you don't want to do when you're interpreting a dream is take a piece from, say, the boundaries and then add it over into the first scene, because there's a reason why they were separated into those different scenes. You've got to leave each of those scenes, all the pieces in that scene are for that scene. And if there's a piece in another scene that doesn't go in that scene, you can't add it in. It's like taking a verb out of one sentence and throwing it into a different sentence. It just confuses everything. So that's the reason why we're doing that, because it helps us to remember that piece and keep it clear. So let's start out with the house. What would a house represent in a dream?
Life.
The life. So this is the dreamer's life. Now, one of the things about house is it's the dreamer's house, like it's where she's at, but it's not the house that she actually lives in. So it's not about where she's living and that particular piece. It's more about her life. So her soul, what's going on inside of her spiritual life, it's that part of her life that this is talking about. Okay, now, couple things. It's big, it's nice, right? There's a lot of room. There's been, this is a good place that is there. What's the vase? Something precious. Exactly. When you think of a nice vase, it's expensive, it's nice, it's decoration, but it's there as something that is treasure. I'm trying to think of all the right words that would fit into that idea, but something that's very precious. Now, why blue-green? Well, blue can sometimes represent revelation. Somebody mentioned revelation. That might be part of it. It's interesting, blue-green. We don't have anything that's in this room that actually is this color, but it's a color that shows up in dreams, not unoften. It happens, and I still have not figured out a reason why. I really don't know, other than most often when it shows up in dreams, it means power or healing, a healing anointing. I've had a number of dreams. I know other people that have had dreams where that's what it meant. So I'm not 100% sure on this particular piece. It seems like it's something that's precious. It's something that's important to the dreamer. What happens to it? It shatters. It's broken. And what happens to the dreamer? She gets hurt by it, right? Now, she doesn't feel the pain of it, but it's clear that there was damage done. So why is she not feeling the pain of it? It could be she's not experiencing the pain of it, even though it would normally cause pain. Or it could be that God's just not talking about the pain. He's just talking about the fact that something happened. A specific incident. Because in this whole dream, there seems to be a basic, it just goes through, the whole thing is just like, yeah, it's good. The whole piece of it, there's no movement with the plot of the dream. So it's not about the emotional part, it's about what's actually happening. The emotional part is a different conversation. It's not the conversation that God's having with the dreamer in this dream. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So who's the man? Jesus. Jesus is the husband. He's the man that is dealing with the wounds of the stuff that's happened, things that were precious to the dreamer, that have been lost, that have been broken, that left her with wounds. Jesus is healing. Jesus is taking care of that. All right, so what's the baby shower? Newness of life. Now, here's one of those things that would be too easy to get too caught up in the details. It's about her daughter's social circle and all the stuff that's going on there. It's not about anything that's happening as far as the baby. It's not about the dreamer having anything new or any of that. It's just this social circle that's going on. So there's people that she relates to through other people. Now, is that through her daughter because the context of her daughter? Could be. But you could even leave that vague if you didn't have the revelation on it. But what's happening? There's a conflict. And what happens with the conflict? It gets resolved.
Step up and say, what's going on? Can we resolve?
Right. Yeah, so able to resolve, recognizing conflict and resolving conflict and dealing with it. Now, what's a similar pattern that we just saw? Right. Something broken or something in conflict, something healed, something resolved. We're seeing issue fixed, issue fixed. Third scene. What's missing?
People.
No, there's no issue. The first scene and the second scene, but the third scene, there's no issue. It's just recognizing. So why flowers? What would flowers represent? Represent grace. What else would flowers represent? Growth. Flowers tend to be fragrant, which would talk about the presence of the Lord. So that there's things that are being sown into her life by other people that have been serving her. That's releasing the fragrance of the Lord. But what is she being drawn to recognize? Clear boundaries. Yeah. Well, the key to what God's doing in her life is clear boundaries. So you've got three separate things, three separate areas that the Lord is talking about in this dream. And it almost feels like past, present, future. Does that make sense? All right. So let's get a couple of our team leaders come up and share what they got. I looked right at somebody to see if they would respond. They responded, so yay!
So if I probably interpret it as though I knew that she was a believer.
Okay.
And stuff.
Go for it.
Yeah. So the Lord had blessed you with a gift, a very precious one, and it seemed that shattered or broke in the past, and the Lord came in and healed you. The good part is that the Lord has dealt with it wholly, which means it's all gone. You're healed in that sense of it, which has prepared you to deal with the issue that you might be currently facing in your life. And it might have to do with your daughter's social circle. It may not be a direct issue with the person in the social circle, but definitely with your daughter as well, indirectly in a sense. And the Lord's equipped you to be able to deal with that and come out of it wholly restored, and which would probably lead you into your new season, wherein you would see great growth and beauty, and you would have another level of the presence of God over your life throughout. And He will make sure that you're well protected from all sides, which means that you probably have good boundaries all around your life.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. That's good. That's good. All right. So I'll give a throw at it too. Because it's one of the things, we're all saying the same thing. We're just saying it in different ways.
Yes.
One of the things that's really helpful to understand in dream interpretation is hearing the themes of the dream and being able to hear it when it's presented in different ways and recognizing, okay, yeah, that's that piece, that's that piece, that's that piece. And just because it's presented differently doesn't mean it's different. Like there's times when there's a wrong and a right. This means this, it doesn't mean this. And we've got to clarify that. But a lot of it is different ways of saying it. And hearing different ways of saying it, it actually develops our capacity to hear somebody give a dream interpretation differently than we would and still recognize that they've got the dream interpretation right. That we're not comparing it with what we thought, but we're comparing it with what the dream is. And that is key. It's one of the beautiful things of hearing, because we're here, different people share, and different people will focus on one thing and they'll pull a little bit more out of this or a little bit more out of this. And then we just get a fuller picture as we hear the different perspectives. So that's one of the reasons for having different ones share. And because it's just really good to practice saying the interpretation out loud. Because it's one thing to think it through in your head. I mean, you guys... It's nice because you're sitting there and you've got the screen, and hopefully you've got some friends that you're doing this with and you're talking it through. But even just talking it through until you actually say, well, this is what the dream means, it's always different. It's easier to get the concept of the dream than it is to communicate the interpretation of the dream. So I'll challenge you. It is actually say the interpretation out loud when you're doing these dream labs. Say it out loud like you're talking to the dreamer. I mean, just look at the screen. Just rewind it, see their face. You see Felicia sitting there on the screen, and just give her the interpretation of the dream in that way, because it's going to develop something inside of you that's really key in how to communicate. Because there's the process of receiving revelation, and that's the easiest part. But then how do you communicate it in such a way that you do justice to the revelation? That's a much harder part. And that takes practice and practice and practice. So, all that to be said. So, the Lord's showing you aspects of your life. There's something that was really precious to you that shattered. And it left you with wounds, but God has come in and he's brought healing. And he was able to bind up those wounds and to care for you in that vulnerable place. You're currently in a season where you're starting to learn how to deal with conflict and bring resolution before it becomes a big issue. To be able to recognize it and to be able to bring it to the front and to deal with it. And you've been in this season of grace, if you will, where God has had people that have served you. And because of what has been sown into you, his presence is increasing in your life. And he's bringing you to, bringing attention to you about the next season of your life, where one of the key things is recognizing the clear boundaries, because it's clearly what you are responsible for and what you're not responsible for. And God wants to bring that clarity to you so that you stay responsible for what you've been given. Does that make sense? Yes. Awesome. Yay. So, questions? No? Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for joining us for this Dream Lab. We will see you next time.